Welcome back. This is the Klein D5317 plier wrench, and I think this Knipex clone is worth considering. Klein sent me the product for free to review, but my opinions are my own. So we're going to compare this to the Knipex pliers wrench. We have the 7-inch models for both. So let's start with what is the same. It is functionally the exact same to the Knipex pliers wrench, and both operate almost exactly the same. Both have 15 adjustment positions. Both are 7 inches in length. Both have the push button design to change position, and both open up to 1.5 inches. Banana 4 scale, please subscribe. Guess what? I wrote a children's book called Who Says Pooh? It's a funny read-aloud children's book about words in different languages that sound phonetically like the English word poo. Link is in the description. Now back to the video. All right, now, where does the Knipex beat the Klein? First of all, in weight. So, you can see here, that is 227 grams. The Klein is 239 grams. So the Knipex is 12 grams lighter, and that might be a significant negative for you. Some people it might not be. When I open up the jaws here, you can see that the edges are slightly rounded over in all areas of the jaws. On the Klein, you can see that they are not. When I open it up, you can see they are sharp corners on all edges of the jaws, except for the bottom tip is rounded over. I could see that possibly marring some surfaces. So I could see the benefit of the rounded over edges, possibly, depending on what you're grabbing, having less of a chance to mar with the Knipex than the Klein. The next negative I've already mentioned, which is this has metric and freedom units. This just has freedom units. So I don't know why Klein refuses to put, metric. They could have put the metric right there. They have the little tiny readout window like they do on this side. So I don't understand why they didn't just put that on there. It's just such a nice quality of life thing to have on there. The next area where the Knipex beat it is in the handles. If you look at these handles, you'll notice that the Knipex plastic coating handle goes up slightly higher on the part where your hand's going to be grabbing the most. And again, for some people, they might not care about it, but for me, that's actually something that I care about. When I'm holding a tool outside and it's cold, because I live in Canada, I work in Canada, and I'm outside a lot of the time with these, just having that extra little bit of something that's not metal touching my hand is a benefit. And then the next place where Knipex wins is that it's made in Germany. It says so right on the tool. The Klein doesn't list where it's made. I know for a fact if it was made in USA, Germany, or even Japan, they'd list that. So, for example, I have these other Klein pliers, and they say it right here, made in Germany. I also have this Klein screwdriver that you've already seen me review. And you can see right there, hopefully you can see that, it says made in Japan. So let's talk about where the Klein possibly beats the Knipex. I say possibly because for some people, these might be positives, they might be negatives, or just maybe neutral points. The head of the Klein is a little thinner and a little bit more pointed. They seem to be the same length, more or less, but you can see here, when I put them side by side, you can see that the Klein is just a little bit more narrow. And I think that it could potentially make it so it can get into some narrower spaces. The next thing I will say is that between the two of these, this jaw feels, to me, by hand, that it has a lot less resistance to it. I can move this back and forth really, really easy, whereas with this guy, there seems to be a tad of resistance to this. Nothing that I can't move, but when I move it there, I can sometimes get stuck on some of the teeth here. And I'm pushing in these buttons the exact same amount, and this is just, I can go like that, and it goes back and forth, whereas this one, I can kind of do that, but I can see how it's stuck there. And I'm pushing that in the exact same. So I think that for some people, having a little bit of a smoother motion might be easier, especially for a one-handed operation. The next thing is the number markings on here. You can see the number markings here are in freedom units and metric. They can be a little hard to read sometimes, especially if light is shining off of this metal. That doesn't have the same problem as the Klein. Now, they don't have the metric, they just have the freedom units. But they're relatively easy to read, and I like how the window frames the buttons just a little. I like it just a little bit better than the way the button frames the units for the Knipex. The next benefit, and I think this is the overall most positive benefit, is that the Klein is half the price of the Knipex. I think that depending on where you work, depends which one you should buy. Tools have a tendency to go missing out of tool carts in some shops who have a lot of different techs working in them. So if you often have tools go missing, I'd buy the Klein and you'll be fine. But if you're a purist and you don't like buying clones, then spend more for the Knipex. Either way, I think you're getting a functional tool that will work great for you. And if you like this video and you're curious about more details on the Knipex pliers wrench and also different ways you could use the Klein wrench, check out my first video I ever made about these guys. Until then, thanks for watching.